Uh, they have been, I have captured some of the videos that they have shared with us on how the course has helped them in their career. Okay, so that is what we were looking at. Yes, welcome, Professor Deva. So we'll. So I invite Arpit Agarwal and the parent to receive the. Sai, a few words from you how this course has helped you too.
Yes. So a very good morning, everyone. So like this course was very much useful to me, like particularly for people who are very much interested in this domain, like in the field of machine learning, and who wants to have a good base and a good hands-on experience on this course. Like this particular course, like it has the combination of the theoretical courses followed by the several labs and the hands-on sessions which we were having every week. Those were particularly helpful for getting a more hands-on and more practical experience on that. So I would say, like when compared to several other online courses we were having, this is helping us get the exposure in a different dimension, which would be helpful for us to understand machine learning and every other concepts in the real-time practical things. Yeah, thank you.
Just a second. Anybody of you like to ask a question? I'll ask some of the questions that you have at the back of the mind. How was the first 2 or 3 modules for you? How, when it was very tough to you, what was your feeling? You felt like running away from the course, or how did you overcome this?
No, like whenever I was kind of stuck, like the program coordinators which were, and also the teaching assistants who were in constant touch with us, like they were kind of helping us to overcome the difficulties in each and every part of the course. Like whenever we kind of stuck, or whenever we wanted to know something out of the course, things like an additional step in that particular topic, like we were able to reach out to all the lab coordinators and the teaching assistants. Like they were really helpful in providing us with the resources, like which could help us in exploring a particular topic which we wanted and everything. Yeah.
One more. Are you in touch with any other peers of your batch? Is that Discord still alive? What do you discuss in that Discord?
Like I was in touch with few of my teammates who I worked with, like as a part of in the assignments or anything. Like we were discussing a couple of things and few of the advancements in the things and everything. Yeah.
Any other questions that you would like to ask? Where are you studying now?
Now currently I'm a 2022 pass out. I'm working as a software development engineering at ZoomaRx Technologies.
Thank you, Sai. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Deva. Thank you. You have anything to say on that?
No. I mean, congratulations. Whoever there are many awardees, who did extremely well. Just the same course that you are doing. And then these are some testimonials or testaments to how successful or how useful this course is. I just hope the same continues in the other batches as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Professor Deva. So we'll start with this session. Yeah. So we have the Megani. Samarth, any few words? They are the students of FML 2022 August batch. Any views that you have? Your experiences, how it helped you, whether it helped you or not?
Like it was my first batch. Like I am in my second year. The eligibility of the course was the 3rd year and the 4th year. But I asked sir and other members that shall I join that? So and they asked me that if you are interested, you may join. So I joined. It was like the basic course, like the fundamental course that one should do, and the machine learning. So the overall experience was great for me. So
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. So we'll now move on to the next course, which is Prospects of AI in Agriculture. And the speaker for the day is Dr. Anbumani Subramaniam. He is the chief architect with Intel, and he is now also an adjunct faculty at IIIT Hyderabad. Okay, and he is involved in the mobility project of IHub-Data. And if you see this car fitted with sensors outside, okay, so Professor Dr. Anbumani is associated with that project. Okay, so all those things and others he will explain as part of this lectures towards the end. And I request again, okay, there will be a quiz that will be conducted after today's sessions are also over, and some of these points that Dr. Anbumani asked will be coming in that quiz questions also. Okay, and the prizes for those winners we'll have it in some other occasion. Okay, so for the quiz that we served today will be for the questions on sessions that were happened on yesterday and day before yesterday. Today's quiz, the winners will get prizes on the next occasion that will be visiting IIIT Hyderabad. Okay, is that okay? Okay, fine. Okay.
Okay, good, very good. We'll get started. Okay, so a bit running a bit late. So, good morning everyone. Glad to see everyone here. Wow. So I was here yesterday, and looks like maybe as the days pass by, half the leaves rose are disappearing. But good to see you. So I am thanks Dr. Raju and Dr. Deva and everyone in the IHub team for inviting me. So I am the topic Dr. Raju picked was prospects of AI in agriculture. I added one more term, and food, because I have looked at this in the past. So therefore I thought I will talk about this. I'll also share some of the work that I have done in this aspect, so that you will see that it is real, right? It's not just some public material. Right? So in the next 45 minutes or so, I will talk about. I'll just give an introduction. I will say how AI will have an impact in agriculture and food. What have I done? What are the applications that are possible? And just leave you a thought. I hope that I will be able to convince you that AI ML will be we will see the revolution happen right in front of our eyes in the next 5-10 years, right? So that's the idea of my talk here. So here is a a simple supply chain view of the agriculture or food. So if you really see, so starting with the farmers and who really do the the groundwork or the real work, the produce, and it goes into this agriculture or industry process, and then it gets into distribution, and then it goes into retail, and then some of us or most of us are consumers here, and some of us could be in different parts of this supply chain, right? And there is another way to look at it as pre-production or production, where the the hard work happens, or the field work happens, and then in the supply chain where the whole thing moves, and in the consumption where we eat, right? There are multiple ways of slicing this same supply chain. So in this in the entire agriculture supply chain, I will show parts and pieces of where AI and machine learning will help, is going to help, and that's my view. And I am going to take a view that is my area of expertise, which is computer vision and AI machine learning. So there are multiple ways AI ML will help, and what I am going to view this is through a vision and machine learning, right? So that's the focus of this AI ML in food and agriculture with a vision background. Okay? So the importance of data in AI ML, you are all part of the AI machine learning community, so I don't have to explain, but this is still my a cartoon view of how things are, right? So you have the basic sensors and data coming from multiple sources and things like that, and then you build a structure or this whole thing using several pillars or some structure. This could be technology, where machine learning, deep learning, or it could be computer vision, or it could be natural language processing or speech processing. These are all another, this is another vertical. And then, you have the data, science, right? So even if you have this fundamental, basic technology, you also have the computer science view of things where the data has to be processed, cleaned, and, so, and then you put the entire application, which is a real world application on top of it, right? That's how you get this entire thing. So if you see, this is how, this is one view of it. And in the AI ML world, right, machine learning and deep learning depends a lot on the data, right? So everyone talks about data, data, data. The data has, two views of it. One is the volume of data, especially in the machine learning, deep learning world. You have to have huge volumes of data, and then you also have to have diverse, diversity in the data, right? You cannot have the same kind of data for, to build your application. So, if you are looking at, if you are recognizing cats and dogs, you need to have all kinds of cats and dogs, right? And there may be one, if you are looking at ducks or swan, you need to have, one example of where a black swan exists, right? Until you didn't see that, right? If you did not factor that in the data, you are going to be surprised in your application later, right? So this is the importance of data in AI and machine learning, right? So I'll slowly switch to my field of expertise, which is the vision. So here is a picture of what we see. And this is a color picture, right? Most of us have, cameras, and we take pictures. So can anyone spot something, what do you observe in this? I don't know if you have to turn off the lights here on this, because I was observing, and some of the slides are not clearly visible, right? So, yeah, right? I think it's better now, right? So what do you see in this? Yeah, so some potted plants, right? What if I tell you that there is a problem that you cannot identify? Yeah, which plant is that? Let me ask you that question. Instead of you asking me, I'll ask you, right? Which plant is a problematic one here? Okay, so there are 3 or 4. You can take a guess. So it's a third one, right? So it's this plant, right? Right. So it's the human eyes cannot see it. The reason is because, the rest of the other, there are 4 plants, and the third one is an artificial plant, right? So you may not know until I told you, right? The reason is because the same picture that we take in our cameras, if you take it in a different view, it's a near infrared view. If you take it, the chlorophyll in the leaves of the plant, respond differently, and that's how you see this, the orange or the red color. So, but whereas the plastic green does not, appears the same. So this is the beauty of seeing, in near infrared. So imagine if you build a system that, for example, if you take a look at this, I sometimes wonder whether these are real plants or artificial plants, right? So if you have a near infrared vision, you will be, and if you build a machine learning system, you will be able to classify what is real, what is fake. Okay, so this is an output of a simple classifier that tells you there are 3 classes here. So one is the pot, and the next one is the life or the real leaf, and then there is the artificial one. So you can have, this is the simplest classification that you can think of from a different sensor, right? So this is using the color, using the near infrared image, or that's the sensor, you will be able to build this system. So this has, I'll show you more that how else this can play out, right? So this is the power of data and machine learning systems. So the reason why you are not able to see is because if you really see our eyes, we see very little, right? So some of us tell that I do not see what you see, or you do not see what I see, right? What is visible to us, as in a common human being, is very sliver of a spectrum in the entire electromagnetic band, right? So this is the this is the electromagnetic spectrum or the electromagnetic band. This is the very small sliver that we see, that our eyes are capable of sensing, and that's the visible light we call, which is there itself. The beauty is, right, 400 to 700 nanometer is what we see. That's the violet to red we see, and so then my question is, we could see that picture, what we saw, right? Can we see what we do not see? Yeah, so you said no. I will show that, I will convince you that we will be able to see what we cannot see, right? So the question is, so I'm not talking about ghosts here, right? So I'm just talking about, real, physics and spectrum here, right? So if you see, in the animal world, right? Humans are also, in the broad spectrum animals, right? So vision in the animal world, right? This is how dogs see colors, right? I do not have a dog. Those who have dog maybe can, vouch for this. So I do not know I'll trust this source, right? How do dogs see colors? They see, what you see is this color, whereas they do not see the red. That's like, So, and what do the animals see, right? This is what a human vision is, right? 400 to 700 nanometer, whereas the honeybees and the hummingbirds see, this is trichromatic, this is tetrachromatic, or four colors, and that's how you see that the hummingbirds or honeybees are able to see. If you see some of the videos, they see a much a colorful world around them, and that's how they are able to pick flowers. Right? So therefore, there are systems or human systems or biological systems that can see beyond what we see, right? So that's the, this is the spectrum view of things. So I will come to how this is useful in AI agriculture, right? So this goes back to this, the science behind this goes back to, anyone recognize this person? Someone said something. Okay, so at least this one, this is basic, school science, physics. Yeah, prism. So who did prism? Okay, and so this is the spectrum, right? So so this is about the spectroscopy, right? Spectroscopy is measuring the interaction of light with other materials, right? The things that you see blue, red, are because light falls on it. The rest of the spectrum or the wavelengths are absorbed. Only that the blue is emitted. That's why the shirt is blue, or a plant is green, right? So spectrum in Latin means ghost, and scopo means it's a watching, right? So when first, this was Newton, by the way, right? So when he was the first person to see that white light can be split, and he demonstrated that white light has 7 colors, right, or at least multiple colors, right? So when he did that, it was really magic. So when he did that, people saw that this is like ghost watching, right? So that's how the world spectroscopy came, and he completely ushered in a new area of science of spectroscopy, right? And that people who you can measure the spectrum or the amplitude of spectrum, and then it gets into spectrometers, and then it also this is also the field of hyperspectral or spectral imaging, which is put in all the satellites, right? India launches a satellite. You can see you can do better. You can predict climate. You can do, right? So this is all possible because there are cameras or sensors mounted that see beyond what we see. Right, that's all spectral imaging, they call it, right? And that's why if you see, the land cover area in, India has increased, or the forest cover, or, all this analysis is done by this kind of technology. So, you would also see, this is what goes in satellite, and this is what goes in some of the aeroplanes. So if you have to study a smaller area, these sensors are mounted on planes and, driven on a smaller area. So seeing beyond what we see is really possible with technology, with sensors, right? So this is another view of that. This is the typical picture that we see, right, in the visible spectrum, okay? And this is the NIR world. This is where you see, you will have a different, this is again, the colors are pseudo colors, so you can, so this is short wave infrared. So there are sensors to, recognize or to see, things in this, band. So this is all called the reflective AR, which means existing light or ambient light falls on an object, and then you can see. Okay, and then there is medium wave infrared and long wave infrared, where this is what the military guys use, right? So there is no light falling, but the heat of the object, there is a heat spectrum or a heat signature. You would be able to, and that's how you are able to see even in the very, very dark scenarios. If you have to see, there will be a difference between the body. There is some activity going on compared to the rest of the the environment. So therefore, you would be able to see. This is what goes in thermal IR, right? So there are sensors, very expensive sensors at present, that help you see that. And there is UV, and then there is X-ray. So this is how the full spectrum of how sensors work and what can be seen. Right? So in the imaging world or the vision world, so here is another example. I'll just skip. So the thermal infrared thermal imaging also helps in identifying leaks, right? Some of you may have seen, if you have a very, if you are designing some thermal pack or even cooling solutions or heating solutions, you would want to know where are there any leaks. And there are sensors, that handheld sensors to attach to a phone that can help you identify such things. So these sensors have come and at an affordable range. When I say affordable range, few $100s, these have emerged. So that's how you are going to see that the revolution is happening. So here is a evolution, right? I look back the last 20, 30 years on how things have happened, and this is the reason I'm going to promise you or motivate you that this will happen, right? If you, some of you may be, may not be that old, right? In the pre-2000, right, a camera was such an expensive device. Okay, so there were several industrial cameras or USB plug-in cameras that were available, right? Even before webcams came in, and then in the early 2000s, Nokia had put a very small 640 480 VGA or I think QVGA sensor in one of the mobile phones. That triggered the whole the domino thing. So that people didn't even know until then. You have to have a film camera and take pictures, and you do not know what the the moment was, right? Now you take a picture, you can immediately see. So if you see, that was a huge change. Then people started putting then there is if you have heard about depth cameras, that came in about some 15 years back. And then there were if we had played some of these are I think still in some of the malls. You can play some gesture based games and things like that. So this is all possible because the compute became more affordable, and you can put them all inside the camera. So so it ushered in a whole new revolution. Okay, and then people started putting in, so the cameras, so what was $5 this small sensor became, yeah. So initially in the 15 years back, each sensor had was about $5 or so, and in the 10 years back, 5 years back, this became $1, right? So if it is your mobile phone, they will factor the cost of that, and it became $1. Now it is sub $1. So therefore, that's how you see multiple cameras, right? If you see even 5 years back, it was only one camera back and forth, right? Then you see 4 cameras, 6 cameras. Now people don't even know how many cameras they have, but if you see, and you still take only one picture, you do not know what happens, right? There is so much that happens. Even now, most people don't know what the 4 cameras are for, right? And not all 4 are used, and there is not enough compute to process all the 4 at the same time too, right? There are some applications that do, and there is one camera, right? Or people have tried 2 cameras, all those things. So you can see that the cost curve has come down, and that's why you are seeing 4 cameras, 6 cameras. So what will be the next one? So this is where there will be cameras or sensors that get attached to our consumer devices that will help us see beyond what we presently see. Okay, so this is what this is the small sensor that goes in. It is the RGB or the Bayer spectrum that that's there. What we will so this is 3 bands of colors, red, green, and blue. And that's why your images, if you really see, those who have worked on image, opened an image and see, there are 3 channels or RGB, right? So we are able to see color. Color image is just a decomposition or a composition of multiple planes of the same image in RGB channels, right? Okay, so if anyone working on deep learning, you will know that there are 3 channels. All those things come, right? So this is the regular view of RGB world. And then there is a spectral view of this, right? Instead of taking R, which is R is a band of this, I can slice this, or I can have a sensor which is very, very small band pass filter, right? If it is, so if you think of it that way, these are 3 band pass filters that get you these 3 slices. If I slice it more, 20 or 10 or how many ever I want, I have a stack of images. So which means I have whatever world I see, I can see it in any spectrum. So the visible world ends here, and you can also see beyond here. So this is where you can see whether it's a fake or a real plant, or a presence of chlorophyll comes up in this. Okay? So therefore you can build. Okay? There are those who are a little more chemistry or chemical chemistry oriented. This is where the, there are, some overtones as we call it. So if you have presence of water in any object, it occurs in some specific wavelengths. So therefore, if you know which wavelength to analyze, or if you are, if you have trained your data on that wavelength, you will be able to see the response. So this is, so okay, how does all this, why should I, how, back to the topic, right? Why, why did you give all this, right? So here is an apple, right? Again, I'll pose. Is there a problem in this apple? No, you will not be able to. So there is, right, the apple has an internal damage. So if you buy apple, right, you can see that, you will have to see all sides of the apple to see if it is damaged, right? If you drop an apple, what happens is the water or the succulent part of the apple loses some water, and that's why, when it falls, the apple gets an internal damage. It may not be visible outside. It develops an internal damage, and from that internal damage, it spreads. So that's how the food, typically the water in that has to be held together, and if once the damage happens, it starts spreading, and that's why it gets rotten or it gets bad. So this is possible to be, this can be inspected again from sensing and data processing, right? So if you, here is what it is. So this is, you drop an apple. Here is an example of what it is. T equals 0, I drop an apple, and I wait for some time, and I do not see any damage on the visible world, right? But if I see it in the different, the near infrared, I can see that the damage has started growing. So therefore, if you are a food processor, and if I am, right, if you are one of the apple juice making company, you would want to get all good apples, and you would want to retain them for long, right? You would not pick, even as a consumer, we are very picky about picking apples. So if you are a large processor, you would want to know what, what's happening. So that's where this kind of sensing will help. And if you have enough data, and if you have trained it, you will be able to say this apple is good, or I will be able to grade the apples. So this is one of the examples of how sensing data helps you in the food inspection. Here is another view. These are melons, watermelon kind of fruit, the sweet fruits. Okay, so there again, just by looking at it, here is a cut view of the things. Just by looking at it without cutting it open, you would be able to say how sweet the food is. Okay, so imagine if I give you an apple or a mango and say that, tell me how sweet this is. How would you do it? Would you be able to do it? No. So, but the technology allows you to do it, right? So it's something called the brick scale. If you look at it, there is something called a brick scale. So scientists have figured out that if you have to compare sweetness of things, there has to be a scale. Just like a meter scale, you have to have a brick scale. Okay. So the sweetness can be measured just by looking at the object. So this is destructive and non-destructive measurements, right? When you see an apple or a mango and you have to cut it and then taste it to get an idea of this, sweetness, it's a destructive way of testing it. But you have to have non-destructive ways of testing it. So this technology and data processing will allow you to do non-destructive testing or measurement of things. So it's possible. And this is melon and fish again. So how good or how old the fish is, you would be able to find. So this is all food quality estimation. Okay. So you can look it up. I don't have the video. I will not play the video. There is, if you have this kind of, this is almonds being processed. So I think you see a lot of almonds in the market now. There is an influx of almonds. But if you are an almond, packing guy or packing company, you would not want to put some foreign material. Foreign material could be, rock, small pieces of, rock or some metals, all those things, right? So if you are processing this, you have to ensure the quality of things, right? If I buy, some, maybe 900 rupees per kg, and imagine if you keep on eating and you get a metal piece in it, right? You will be shocked, right? So how would you ensure the quality? So there are robotic systems. You can look it up, almond processing in YouTube. You will see this video. So there is a nice sensor, and again, because there is enough lighting and there is data collected. So this machine has been trained to identify which are foreign objects in that thing. So it's spread out and it picks out the right, or the foreign elements in it. So I'll talk about our work, right? So in few years back, we have done this food quality estimation using machine learning and spectral imaging. So I'll show you a video. These are two systems that we built for wheat quality inspection and also vegetable quality monitoring. So this is, just to say that it's real, I'll play this video. Yeah, so this is, so there were, okay, so it was hard until I got into this project. I thought wheat is only one name, there is only one, maybe, rice I had few names at least. Wheat, I didn't know that, right? Coming from South India, I did not know that. So there are, there are 350, types of wheat in India, for, if you didn't know. There are 350 types of wheat, and only 40 or so is being cultivated now, right? There are so many varieties that are not there. So these are some test samples, right? And there are so if you are so this came out in the context of an application that we had to build, right? If you are in a rice mandi or a wheat mandi, if I am a farmer coming to you and I say that my wheat is good quality, how would you, if you are a food processor, if you are for example wheat or atta maker, right? Imagine if you are an atta maker, you would want to buy my produce at some cost. How would you estimate what will you give me? Right? There is an MSP that the government sets in case of rice, right? You just weigh the a bag of rice and but you never know how good the thing is. So you have to take a sample, and in case of wheat, the sweetness is important. So people apparently, there are trained people, right? 20 years of those, so they can just take a sample of wheat, put it in, chew it, and they know what grade it is, right? So this was the this is the real this is what goes on presently, right? Those who are farmers maybe know, but this is what goes on. But how would you make this automated system? Again, using technology, which is machine learning and some sensing. So this is the problem that I was working on. So, and how would you replace the people, and you have to get a objective estimate, right? So that's where we did. So there are multiple samples of wheat that are given. You are also told that this is grade 1, 2, 3, and this is the best grade to inferior grade, right? So so this was all real time. So which means if a farmer comes and says that I have 100 bags of wheat, I would I would take a sample of it, put it, and be able to tell what grade it is. So this is the problem that we worked on. So this is the machine learning. We built the entire machine learning system. In this case, we used random forest. For those who know the techniques, right? Yeah, we could not, and then we again I think we explored. This was a few years back, so there was no YOLO and other things. So we did it with ResNet at that time. So so random forest gave us the better results because it had to go on the small compute, right? So this is loading a sample. So this is a tray, and there is the camera and everything inside this chamber, and you put that in. So you get to see what is being imaged, and so you can do this. This is the deep learning inference. You press a button, right? It's analyzing the sample. I'll not. Yeah. So green, we had only two choices to make, whether it's a good quality or bad quality, right? Okay. So within few seconds, basically seconds at this case, we were able to classify the grade. We did not note that. We only sampled. We did not destroy any part of the sample, right? So non-destructive sampling based thing, right? In this case, this is an example of a bad wheat, right? So this is just a proof of concept that we were doing. This is deploying or large scale industrial deployment would be different. So this is just to show that just based on we had lot of samples of wheat, we had trained a model, and we had deployed it in on a small compute device and an inference. So if you see this entire setup, we would be able to go to any agri mandi, or we would be able to set it up. So that was the so this is therefore it's food or agricultural inspection. Here is another one we tried with a banana. Pardon? No, this is yeah. So this is invisible. So this is spectral imaging. So whatever, so although we showed an image, we just had to, so this is the 25 bands of things we, 25 bands, unlike the 3 bands that we get in the color imaging, right? So from the near infrared data that we got, we knew there were differences, marked differences, especially from the superior grade to the inferior grade of it. As it got closer in the middle of the thing, it became really hard. So, there were different people involved. There are agricultural scientists, there were computer scientists like me, and there were system builders who would do this. So there are multiple challenges in building, because I as a computer scientist will say I am happy that you can do the superior inferior grade, but the agricultural scientist had a different, which is the customer, right? In this case, it's working for a food processing company, right? They are not satisfied because you have to tell exact grade, right? They are just not happy with binary grading. So here is an example of. So we had So we had trained it on multiple vegetables also. So we tried brinjal, we tried tomato, we tried banana. So we built a system. Yeah, pesticides were not visible in this band. So we had again very interesting when you talk to the multidisciplinary people, right? The agricultural scientists and food scientists. So for example, this one this system we demonstrated that you can add new classes or new objects. For example, if the system is built only for banana and you wanted to add tomato, you can do that. Again, it's a new class, adding a new class in the machine learning system. So here is a banana. So this is unlike a small grain sample, this is a large object. So how would you classify this? So this is whether it's a good banana, bad banana, right? The moment the eye sees it, there is no need for a technology, but you have to build it where we are not able to solve. So we did that for.
Let's say you measure the transmittance of
Yes, yeah. So we had so the whole process had to be automated, right? And also had to be robust. In the sense, it's not a demo for the built by the the guy engineer, but rather field level deployment is where the challenge was, right? How would you ensure that any basic user would be able to use it, right? Yes. Conveyor belt is also. So we had built a entire. I'll pause it. So therefore this is real, right? We have built it. So all we needed was sensing, machine learning algorithms, and deep learning knowledge. So you acquire a lot of data, you get the diversity of data, and then you build a real application. Okay. So now I'll switch to agriculture. So how can AI help in agriculture? Right. So have you heard of this term called precision farming? How many have you heard? Okay, there is one or just one. So precision farming is when you are a farmer, there are some specific inputs that can be given to your specific field. So whether it's you are not watering enough, you are watering more, you are there is a spread of a pest, so please fix it. So these are all precision farming. It's like a doctor giving you advice, right? They are not, nobody is generally broadcasting, right? Take health supplement. No, not right. So this is a precision farming, and so as the previous speaker talked about, right? Satellite or space technology, right? If you had watched, if you really heard what he said space tech is going to open up, right? So all the satellites or the private satellite that was launched, right? You will see multiple of these happening in India, right? They will all be helpful in finding out what is that you are growing, and they can someone will be able to give you precise advice on what your farm needs. So that's all going to happen, and the use of drones and robotics will play the next big role here. And all this is possible because of the big data that is that's collected that we are not yet using, right? So here is one company which, this is not, there are few players in India who can do that. This is one company, you can have them as a service, or ask them to come and survey your field, and they will fly a drone and they will tell you, and they collect multiple data, right? And from your elevation to, they will also tell you the elevation of your a field, and therefore they can tell you where the water is more, where the water is less, and based on that they have multiple bands of data that they look at, and they can tell you what is your crop yield going to be. If you are a farmer, 3 months from now or 1 month from now, this is what your output is going to be. If you would be able to act accordingly. For example, if in a month from now, if your produce will go down, if you don't put some pesticides or this thing, you would at least act more, right? So this data is going to play a big role. This is another company called Gamaya. Again, these are small drones that they, the small drones with different sensors that they put in. They do machine learning for precision farming, right? And they can tell you the crop intelligence. So 1 month from now, if you don't do anything, you will get 1 quintal per acre. Or if you do something, you will get 2 quintal per acre, right? Someone is going to tell you that soon. And it is already happening in the case of the crop insurance. This is the basis of crop insurance that's come out in the country, right? How would even the government know, or how would someone tell you that your field is going to incur a loss, or you will see a bigger output? So that's done with lot of data from the satellite, from the drone, and from lot of machine learning, deep learning that's happening. Right? I'll talk about the food. Okay, here is something called a food spectrometer. So you can build algorithms that tell you how sweet the apple is. So that's what this is an example. And there is a company, they have built this kind of a small device that tells you whether it is how sweet the thing is, or how fresh the food is. So this is a company you can look in. This still exists, I've seen, right? And there is another company. There are some people who have life-threatening diseases. I don't know. It's not prevalent in India. If somebody eats peanuts or some things, they could get into a life-threatening situation. So there are gluten allergies and peanut allergies and things like that. So there is a new sensor that has come out. Before you go, when you go to a restaurant, you can take a sample of food, drop it in that, and it can tell you whether it has any allergen or not. So this is a life-saving thing that's happening. The way it does is, it takes this, again the sensor, it collects data or senses data, sends it to the cloud. The machine learning algorithms there tell you whether the presence of allergen is there or not. Okay. So this is how So here is an example of what you do. So you take a sample of food in the capsule, you drop it in, you press a button, it will tell you green or red. So then you can say whether you can eat or not. Okay. And this is another company that got acquired by Appeal. So you can tell whether how green the plant is, or how good the plant is. If you have a small time farmer or a home farmer, whether before you put too much water, you can tell whether the plant is healthy or not. Just by taking a picture or just by sensing it, it will tell you whether how good the plant is. And it has multiple uses. Or you can even tell fake prescription, fake medicines. Right? I don't know if some of you read the news. Last week they busted a gang of people who were selling fake cancer medicines. Right? What used to cost 2 lakhs for a strip of 10, they were putting in just basic I think starch in capsules, and they were selling it for 1.5 lakhs, and people are buying it in Delhi. So they busted the gang, and those kinds of things you would be able to identify, because the chemical compositions in the original one would be different from the fake one. So this has this kind of sensor without opening the capsule, right? So this company has built an entire stack of applications, and they also claim that you can save food. Right? If there is food fraud has a lot of money, and you will be able to reduce the food waste, and so you can feed more people. This is a phone that was a few years back, 3-4 years back. It was going to come, but COVID came and the phone disappeared. So here is what would have
So
come.
this is the world's first material sensing phone. It's got a microspectrometer there, and it scans material and gives you insights about the material it scans.
Can you
One of the
hear me?
use cases is, for example, detecting the sweeter fruits. In this case, we'll do apples. So I'll click on the produce selector, click on apple, and simply scan an apple. This is a nice big red apple. I'm going to scan it. Gives me a result in bricks units, which is sweetness units. So this is a good apple, 11.5 bricks units. I'm going to pick a different apple, scan this one. Gets a reflection, goes up to the cloud, gets the result back. This is a much sweeter apple. This is 13.5, pretty excellent apples. I eat actually the greenish apple versus the big red nice apple. So that's one application. We have a bunch of other applications. Another application is product verification. In this case, you could do pill verification, counterfeit versus real. Meat, water-injected meats. Is my alcoholic beverage diluted? Am I getting the real Johnny Walker 40% alcohol? So in this case, we'll do a demo of a couple of pills. They're Viagras, but only one of them is a real Viagra. So I'm going to click pills, and you're going to see here the blue light coming out. That's scanning the pill. Goes to the cloud, and that's the real Viagra. Whereas if I scan the other one, it'll tell me unrecognized. So it didn't detect sildenafil, which is the active ingredient in Viagra. So these are just two of the applications. We have other applications like games.
So I'll pause here. So right. So therefore, this is coming down to the consumers, right? So that's what I wanted to show you. Okay. So but the company does not exist, but you will see that coming up. One of the Samsung sensors have a part of it is a spectral. That's how they some of these have a smaller sensor that senses the spectrum or the amount of light, and they are able to compensate to get you a better picture. So parts of it are coming, and this is another company which does the same thing. So there are a lot of companies. This is a Korean company that still exists. The sensor is there. It's just that someone has to lead it, and it will come into all of us, right? And there is a TI kit. So for anyone wanting to explore the space, there is this developer kit that you can get, and agriculture multiple. Yeah, so this is another one. So this is the one that I showed, what I showed as part of our work in wheat inspection. A company has developed a handheld prototype. So which means this could be deployed in agricultural fields, taking a sample. So this is coming up. This is real. So I hope I have convinced you that this technology is real and it is coming. Unlike VR, right? We are still seeing that VR is coming. It's still not coming. But whereas this is going to come. Right? So the agriculture, right? The business impact of that is we will be able to predict the yields of our, of our fields, and therefore we can estimate the health of, if we know the crop health, whether it is doing well or not, we will be able to predict, and therefore we can insure the farms, which is already happening part of the central government scheme, and the food we will be able to find quality, determine, find contaminations, and therefore reduce waste. Right? In sense, if the food is good, but we are still throwing out, that's a waste. So we can reduce the waste, right? And there are startups and events that are happening around in India and around the world that promises the use of AI, machine learning in agriculture and food. Okay? So in summary, right? I hope in the last 40 minutes I have convinced that technologies to revolutionize this in agriculture and food are coming. AI machine learning has multiple applications, and if you have new ideas and if you are looking to have an impact, as the previous speaker said, this is one such field or one such technology place where you should. And I would recommend that use AI and machine learning, right, to not detect cats and dogs, but really solve some practical problems, you as students, right? And so I'll call to action, right? If you are a student, look for practical problems, be it in your FMML course or anywhere or in your course project, right? Don't go by the YOLO V5 or just look at cats and dogs, right? If you have cats and dogs problems, you solve that, that's good. But if not, that shouldn't be your, the only project that you do, right? Pick some problem that you will solve. And if you are a faculty, advise the students to fix, solve some real problems. So with that, I'll end, and thank you.
Yeah, the floor is open for questions. Before we start, it's most of us will be associated with agriculture in some way or the other. Okay, either some of us are directly maybe owning farmland, or some of our relatives might be owning farmlands. Okay, so how many of you are from the agriculture family? My goodness, very fortunate. Okay,
Very good.
okay, so you have a very strong future. Now questions.
Okay, either went too high or went too low that you don't, right?
Just right,
Yeah, yeah.
isn't it? How many say just right?
No,
Show of hands.
yeah.
That the class was just right for you? Was extremely good for you? Yes,
Okay,
all of you
good.
agree.
Yeah.
Great, majority. Flew over the head? Didn't understand anything? Any show of hands? Nobody. That's great. Now questions? It's clearly understood. It seems. So
I'll take
on
it
behalf
on
of
the top. Yeah, sure, right.
IHub-Data and IIIT, maybe questions might take a couple of
Yeah.
minutes to come. We'll wait
No,
for
not a
5
problem.
more minutes.
I'll hang around, right? If
Yes.
there are any questions.
So,
right.
yes, so you have a question.
Yeah, someone has to break the jinx.
Now you have explained about the device which checks the quality and sweetness and how it is good or bad, coming to the fruits and vegetables and plants. But is there any device which related to the AI application which checks the quality of a seed? Seed, whether the seed is good or bad.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Because many of the farmers
Correct.
who brought the seeds are not good in quality, and they even though planted the seeds, they are looking for the plant to come from the soil. But later they will realize that those seeds which they brought are not good.
Yes, yes. Not talk about, as I said, right? I'll just leave this one. This is the overtone or the, as I said, those who are interested in chemistry would appreciate this, right? So lot of things, so the sensors that I talked about, or I would say simpler ones. There are more expensive sensors that can help you do, a pesticide or the quality of. So you would have to closely work with an agricultural scientist who knows that this is a good seed, identify, because the scientist will not know, what in it is a good seed, right? He will only tell you this is a good, rice variety, this is a bad rice variety, right? You as, people in FMML or, machine learning, you would have to use a sensor to identify what are the features in that do. It is possible, I did not talk about it, it is possible, but it requires a lot more expensive sensors and, the same, kind of machine learning, deep learning, even the networks to pick or whatever, yes, it is possible. So it is indeed a problem, and I did not talk about it because it is part of the early supply chain here. Yes, good question, and it is of concern. So for example, one thing that is happening, in the farming sector in India is there is contract farming, or big companies are coming and saying, if you have planted sugarcane or if you have planted this thing, they are saying we will buy your harvest 3 months later, right? And they help you monitor also. They also want to ensure that where did you get the seed, where is the source, so what is the yield, everything is, yes, is happening.
As an associated question with that, like if some farmers use natural seeds and some of them use the genetically modified ones, okay, there's a chance for cross-pollination.
Correct, oh yes.
Okay, so is there a way out to identify this?
No, that is not possible because then it requires a destructive testing. So right, and one of the I have given this talk multiple times. This is one question that comes, but it requires gene level analysis, which is not possible at a non-destructive one. Right, what I talked, if you see, is mostly about non-destructive testing. Right, so it is not possible, and it is an issue. It is an issue because I am an organic farmer. I believe in that, but the guy next to me is not, right? So, but there is pollination and all of this happening, and that corrupts my field also, right?
Correct.
So
That's the some farmers around use pesticides, then the farmer is
Correct. Yeah.
left with no choice but to use that.
So
Okay.
I'll tell you one example. If anyone is planting potatoes, right, I'm not a farmer, but one generation back was a farmer, right? So if you're a potato farmer, apparently there is a disease, a pest that hits, and when it hits, if your neighbor has got it, it takes 2 or 3 days to come to affect your field, and you can lose the complete potato farming. It seems Maharashtra, people from Maharashtra, if you know, right? But the beauty is, if you are watching the your field for every day, you can predict the outburst of that 2 days before, and you can, if you spray something, you can save the entire field, it seems. So that is possible, but it needs some technology or some monitoring. You can save the entire crop or lose a thing. Even if you don't do anything, it can come from the next farmer's field. So. Yes.
We'll have to pick up these signatures.
Correct, exactly. That's what so you will have to see, so that's why you work with the agriculture scientist who knows that this is this is a sign of some pest infecting, and then you would have to, build some algorithms that, can, help you predict that. Yes, definitely it's possible.
Yeah, nowadays I think even the countries are actually monitoring from the state.
Yes, yes.
Like large pieces of land,
Yeah.
predict actually some
Yes.
disease is coming in this area.
Yes.
Please watch out,
Yeah.
and the pesticides
Yeah.
are also.
If I really have to take it to the next level, the food grain dependence of the country is also dependent on it, right? If you are India and if you are running, giving food for all the economically weaker people, right? If you don't have enough supply in your FCI godowns, 2 years from now, you will be you will have to depend on external sources for food, right? So how would you predict? That also goes back to the previous speaker's talk, space tech, right? So therefore, there is a lot of technology and data science that's used.
Good morning, sir. Is there any device which can, which can observe the specific food is organic or completely grown with a?
That's what I said. Organic, inorganic, or organic or pesticide detection is not possible. But if some traces of it will be possible in this, if you have sensors that can do in the higher bands, which is, but it is expensive and it may not be really. Yeah. So this goes back to this. So presence of some of the pesticide material occurs in higher bands, and sensing in this higher band is lot more expensive. So that will not come, that will not be deployed widely, or that we may not see it. It may be possible, but if you talk to an organic farmer, there are ways to beat that also, right? So the presence of a pesticide apparently, on a fruit is there for a few weeks or months. Okay, so there is no way to detect whether a pesticide was applied in the early cycle, or the sample that you are presented is fresh. If I am a farmer, if I could apply 2 weeks before and present you the sample now, and then the evidence of that is hard to detect. Okay, so there are some challenges in it, but despite the challenges, it requires sensing in a different band, which is a lot more expensive.
Okay, so thank you. So this was one of the reasons why I brought Dr. Anbumani. I didn't inform at the beginning. It's very obvious now. He's the principal architect in Intel. Okay, supposed to be working. His peers would be working from US. He was also in US for a large number of years. He did his postdoc from America, US University in America. But he is working. If you look at his contributions to the world at large, okay, the Indian driving data set, okay, which looks at some of the problems that Indian drivers face in Indian road conditions, which is very different from other developing nations. That's one. The kind of work that he has done in agriculture. Okay, so from all of us, I request all of you to give a standing ovation to Dr. N.
Thank you.
Ram.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We are honored and we are proud. Thank you. So with that, we have come to the end of our symposiums. Okay, so the lectures have come to an end. Now we would like to, after lunch, we will have the feedback section from you, and there will be a small workshop also associated with it. where I'd like to see how you participate in that workshop and how well you have understood the topics that have been discussed over the last 2.5 days. Okay. Now I'll invite Venugopal and Ashutosh, Venugopal is the Chief Operating Officer. I'll just invite two of them to give away the FML prizes. We have 2 more winners coming in now. Harshit, go ahead, please come. Harshit, some of the feedback that you have about, like these are the FML 2022 batch, and what are the challenges that you faced, especially in the beginning? How did you hold on to it, and how did you come out in flying colors?
It was not like a really challenging course. It was a few topics only that like statistics and all that were difficult for me. But rest of the course was like amazing. I really liked the depth of the topics covered in the lectures and the visualization part in the labs. So overall, that was a wonderful learning experience.
Any advice that you would like to tell them?
So in terms of like?
Just any advice on hanging on to course, because some of them, at least no, I'm not seeing them in the car. How important is attendance for attending the classes or for the tutorials?
So I guess attendance is a really important part of that, mainly because it helps you build consistency. Otherwise, you lost a track of some of the topics and then you just leave it kind of. So it's really important to build consistency in the course. That's it.
Thank you. And what are you doing now?
Sir, I'm in my 4th year. So I've been placed at Bosch in Bangalore, and I'll be interning there next semester.
Congratulations and all the best. Okay. So now we have Purvansh Barodi. Please come. Purvansh, same questions. What are you doing now? How has the course helped you? And what kind of difficulties you experienced in the beginning?
I'm currently doing computer science engineering in 3rd year. And the advice I want to give you is you should maintain contact with TAs because they will help you more. Besides, teacher will help you in lectures, but TA will help you more. And to complete the lecture, you should be consistent. That should I say.
How difficult did you find about, especially when exams come and then you have both these coinciding submission of projects or submission of assignments, and with the class 5 courses in the regular classwork, that's the most challenging part of it. So how did you overcome it?
So basically, I say I have prioritized the work. I have given the less focus on exam because I know my interested area ML, so I have given more interest to this course.
Thank you, Purvansh. Okay. So any one of you would like to ask any questions to the medal winners? Okay. So we'll break for lunch and then anything else?